that people have, and I'm so grateful for NARAB and their efforts to do that, not only today, but in every effort that they do. And we all know the great work that Pastor Floyd has done, and just so honored to be here today and to be here with you all.
Now with brother Ricky Floyd, I remember when he had hair.
Steve Harvey.
That's how long I've known him. I've known him since when he had hair, and community must have worried it off of him pretty good. But he's been instrumental in that Fraser area for a long time, over 20 years that I know of. Gone to his church a couple of times, and he's had some challenges with trying to get the community as well as it is right now. But without further ado, I'll let brother Pastor Ricky Floyd tell you about himself.
Ricky D. Floyd, I won't spend a lot of time telling you about myself, but there's some major thoughts that came while sitting on this stage earlier that I think will be of value for all of us to consider in our efforts and our commitment to transform our community. One is, a simple thing is, both of you all use the word parish. Our people are parish. And that's kind of a smooth way. Smooth way.
I just want to say they were going to hell. I didn't want to go that far.
But the other version says destroy.
I'll take it.
Now the thing about perishing means to slowly rot and fade away. So it can happen in such a transition that you don't even realize that it's happening.
That's right.
And so I ran into a statistic, a study that's actually 7 years old, and I've almost become obsessed, and that's why I'm here today. I counsel some important readers to be here today, because I'm obsessed with the statistic that I saw that said in the year 2053, about 27 years from now, black wealth is supposed to be at zero. Thank you for saying my Lord, because I go so many places and say that, and nobody seems to be impacted that in 27 years we could be in slavery. We will be in slavery again if we don't take advantages of moments like this. We've settled for baskets instead of billions.
Say that again. Say that again, Pastor.
If we would have had a basket giveaway today, I'm not telling you what I heard about, I'm telling you what I know. There would have been people here 3 hours early for some beanies and weenies and some bread and some no-name cereal. They would have got here 4 hours early. Ask me how I know, because I did that. And so I want to say to you, brother, man, grow not weary in well-doing. I was thinking about who remember when texting first started. If you're my age of 60, so man, I ain't finna waste my time putting my thumb texting nobody. I'm finna call you, leave a message. But now I don't want to talk to people now. I'd rather text than talk. And so that's what I'm thinking about you right now. You're like the beginning of texting. People are not comprehending the value of what you're bringing to the table right now. But stay faithful, stay focused, and let's make that demonic prophecy alive.
Amen.
Now, what's even more disturbing about that statistic is that anybody want to give me a guess? And if you know the answer, don't act like you're smart and tell it. But if you don't, anybody want to give me a guess of what the Hispanic community's zero network is? What year is it's supposed to be a Hispanic community? Anybody want to guess? Yeah,
Never.
zero network.
Never.
27 years for us.
Never.
2073. So you better treat your brown brothers good, because they might have to feed you. Their net worth is supposed to last 20 years after we're at zero. And so I want to say this too, as I saw my brother, I wish he would have stayed in here, because I see this so much. People go between, and you can pull my coattail anytime you want to. I'm a man in order. I see this so many times. I can put one post, and in the same post I'll be called Uncle Tom by black people and race baiter by white people in the exact same post. We had the brother up here, vice president, sit next to me. We had the vice president. So here come my Uncle Tom title getting ready to come right now. We had the vice president of a bank that supported this event. Am I correct? We got 2 black banks in the city that didn't support this event. Can you imagine being a white man that's supporting the event, and you hear blackity black, blackity black, 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 blackity black, 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 blackity black, 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 blackity blackity black, but we want the white man's money? Now, and we need his money. And I'm going to ask him for some of his money. And chances are I'm doing good enough work, I'm going to get some of that money. But here's what I want you to consider, and this is a fresh revelation that the Lord just gave me while I was sitting here beside you, is I'm going to call out a few names in the Bible: Cornelius, Zacchaeus, and I really just found this today, Artaxerxes and Potiphar. Call those names again: Cornelius, Zacchaeus, Artemis, and Potiphar. Guess what all of these men had in common? They used their money, their substance, their wealth, their influence, their power, and their ability to help a race that did not look like them. Cornelius needed a miracle, and he wasn't a Christian. He wasn't rolling with the Christians, but he had given money. So one of the disciples said, well, he ain't with our clique, but he showed and helped finance us. He said, bring him on in here. And his daughter was healed. Am I right, preacher? All right. The other one was Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a sinner, a rich tax collector, that most people wondered why Jesus was hanging with him. But when Jesus went to his house, he says, I will give half of my wealth, and anything that I've stole from people, I will give them 4 times what I stole from them. The other one was Artemis. When Nehemiah wanted to build the wall, he had to ask the king for permission to build the wall. And the king not only gave him permission, passed code enforcement. Lord, I need somebody to help me pass code enforcement in this season. Help pass code enforcement, then gave him the resources and time out to go back to his people and build his community. And the last one was Potiphar. Joseph went and worked for Potiphar. And then Joseph turned around and was able to save his whole family because of his relationship with Potiphar. I would ask you all, us as a people, and God told me this about 6 years ago. He said, diversify your spiritual and your racial portfolio. He didn't say sell out. He said, diversify your spiritual and your racial portfolio. Because the reality is, the people with the resources to help you, the people with the resources many times that believe in you, don't look like you, don't talk like you, don't even worship God the same way you worship God. Don't limit, because you'll find yourself disappointed in a major way. Don't limit yourself on who God We're in church. On who God is going to use. And I'll give this example, I guess this is part of my introduction, is no one could have ever told me that a Southern Baptist white church in Tennessee would give a Reformed Muslim, believe in women preachers, speak in tongues, teach prosperity, will play the electric slide in my church. Nobody could have never told me before God told me to diversify my spiritual folio that this Southern Baptist white church would give me 15 acres of land, would give me a building that seats 700 people, and it wasn't raggedy, everything was working, that had 4 apartments that I have members living in right now, and $1 million. And then try to make me stop speaking in tongues. Then tell me I had to sit my wife down, that she couldn't preach no more. Listen, open your mind up to who God wants to use to help you fulfill the vision that he's given you. And it may be somebody that don't look like you, don't like you, but they have to obey God in this season. Now, with that, one of the reasons that I feel why I had to say that, because somebody that was on this stage earlier was one of the ones who called me an Uncle Tom. But I'll stack anybody's statistics against mine about helping your neighborhood. We house at this very moment about 180 people within a 0.7-mile radius of my church. 99% of those people are African American people. Out of those people, within a 0.7-mile radius, we personally employ about 35 to 40 people, but the other property that I own, we own 150,000 square feet of property that we only owe $500,000 debt on. Out of that, there are other businesses that come to our community that hire other people, and there are about 100 people with an average income of about $38,000 that come to the Fraser community to our property because we own property, and we're forming covenant relationship with people that will help our community. Now, let me say this, and then I'll shut up and get a mic. Thank you for being so gracious and kind. Everybody wants to condemn and criticize the church and tell the church what they should do and what they ain't doing. I'll say boldly, if you ain't tithing, you can't tell me nothing but how to lead you to Christ. Now, here's the dilemma I have. We gave a sister who says she's building a house at a meeting just like this. We gave her a 5th acre of land. I made a vow to give her a 5th acre of land for her to build her house on. Well, here's the dilemma. And she supernaturally got $100,000 2 weeks later. My staff, my board, my trustees, my elders, she wants to know when she's getting the land. They want to know when we getting the tithes. I knew it was going to get quiet in here because I assumed that you're a church member, that you're tithing. Now, here's the dilemma. We're getting ready to take $15,000 out of our assets, and we're getting ready to give that to a non-tither, which means we've depleted our funds to help the next person because we don't have not only the tithes from her, but we now don't even have the property. And so I would encourage you, first of all this money that you think churches ain't getting, we ain't getting it. If I'm in the hood, there's some pockets in my neighborhood where a couple of years ago, the average person's salary was $7,500 a year. If they did tithe, reality is in the natural they can't. But if they did tithe $750, that doesn't pay for toilet tissue at a ministry like ours. And so I want to encourage you all to partner with a church. Most of the time people call me, they're asking me for money. And so take the microphone back. I'd hit a dead end now. Take the microphone back.
All right. But that was a good word.
Thank you for allowing me to have a colon cleanser.
Well, that was a good word, and I can appreciate it, because again, you know, sometimes we want stuff, but not willing to do the work for the stuff that we want. And the stuff that we work for, sometimes is not the stuff that we need. So we have to find a way to balance out, because if you can't get your finances in order, you can't ask her for a loan. And then if you can't get your personal life in order, you can't expect for other folks to help you to do something for you that you are unwilling to do something for yourself. And I like that segue, because NARAB was started by some folks from Detroit, Michigan, that went to Tampa, Florida at a Negro Business League convention at the Rogers Hotel in Tampa, Florida in 1947. Now, Tampa, Florida, below the Mason-Dixon line. Florida was one of the most obscure, Rosewood, everybody know the story of Rosewood, which is about 100 miles north of Tampa, inland. And you can rest assured that there were some folks in Tampa that helped them start that did not necessarily come from African descent in 1947. So imagine that being the precursor to the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which prohibited people to be discriminated against in rentals and mortgage based upon their race, religion, familial status, sexual orientation, and those things. But some of those things are still happening today in other means. Now it's just not based upon race or your familial status, but it's based upon certain factors that don't necessarily equate to you being some other color, right? So the game has changed just a little bit, but the players have not. Now, sometimes you got to learn how to take the meat and leave the bone.
Yes, sir.
And if you look around at your political climate, the real estate market thrived under some mess that we are now experiencing. It was good for somebody, but not good for everybody. And those that are proportionally discriminated against in certain facets are still more so disenfranchised than anybody else. And that is our purpose for being here today. When I think about Regina Hubbard, who's been fighting for a long time to bring equity to real estate. And we can talk about diversity and inclusion, that's okay, but if you can't do that in the grand scheme of talking about equity in that same climate, then what are we talking about? We're not asking for it to be balanced, but let me pay my proportionate share to what I make and you pay your proportionate share to what you make. But don't charge me more when I make less and charge you less when you make more. And that is the reason why the communities look the way that they do, because we cannot expect for the communities to change when the home ownership rate and the economics don't make sense. Yes, sir. Give me just a second, because I want to pull this point out. There's a report that came out the other day that said that we are losing our youth to the distribution world. They would rather go to work at Amazon than go to college. So the numbers at colleges are dwindling for people that are just wanting to go to work and live day to day versus build a future. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Because if I hold 4 hats, my day starts every morning at 3:30 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. My day ends when it ends. Today is the anniversary of me eulogizing my father. And it's been a rough day. It started out rough. But what I learned from that guy was this: trouble don't last always, for one. And if you intend to eat, you better daggone well get up and work before the sun comes up. You got to be found working, because life ain't going to give you nothing. So, but go ahead, brother Ricky. I don't want you to lose your point.
No. You know I'm ADHD. I'm trying to get the living of this. Thank you.
Amen.
Yes. When he was talking about the community, I pastor in the Fraser community, and I recently found out there are 5,000 homes in the Fraser community. 2 entities own almost 1,500. One guy owns 1,300. Fraser CDC owns almost 150, something like that. And all of these are rental properties, the majority of which are owned from outside entities. Now, one of the persons he's fired now, over one of those entities. I was working with a bank that was willing to build a relationship with people who had a 500 credit score. They would give them an unsecured loan of $500 to help them start building their credit, take them through a home buying program. And if they had a 550, they would give them a $1,000 unsecured loan to reestablish their credit. The president of one of those organizations told me he didn't like it because if they had a 500, they didn't need to be looking at buying a home. I asked this question. I said, what's the average rent in Fraser right now? He says $1,200.
That's the reason they need to buy a home.
I said, what's the average mortgage in Fraser right now? $650. Did you hear what you just told me, sir? So it's $1,200. That means they can move it up to $1,300, $1,500, and they have no equity, or they can have a consistent mortgage of $650 where they're building legacy, equity, ability to maneuver that for work. And these are the kind of people that we've allowed to come into our community and have authority. And so a little guy like me bought a strip mall that we're hiring African-American boys. The majority, our average demographic of our employee is a 16-year-old boy that was either gang affiliated, either at Lakeside Hospital, or their mother or their father is dead. Now, we know what the target is for those type of people. And they have code enforcement. I'm going to code enforcement because somebody left a tire on my parking lot. I'm going to code enforcement. So we've got to begin to find the balance. I know I said Cornelius at first, but we got to find the balance between working Cornelius and Leroy and Little Nuck Nuck and holding them accountable like, man, you say you want to own a home. Why wasn't you at this meeting this morning? Why weren't you here? So when it says our people are destroyed, there is knowledge that's available here that people could be homeowners. They got a program in Fraser where you can get $35,000 down payment assistance on a home. And so we've got to eliminate the excuses. And again, we got to balance. Yes, we got to hold the system accountable, but we got to hold our sisters and our brothers accountable as well as coming to get this knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Floyd. Now, this will be our last thing, because I know we're running out of order and over time a little bit, and I specifically asked my friends from Baltimore, Maryland, to come in and talk about this career path in real estate. But I need to, Patriot Bank has some unique products that can answer some of this stuff that Brother Floyd was talking about. Tell us about some of that.
Yeah, so Patriot Bank has currently two programs that are running. One is a down payment assistance program. It is up to $10,000 in down payment assistance that can be used not only for down payment, it can be used for closing costs, anything affiliate with the closing of that transaction. It is fully forgivable. You do not have to pay it back. The requirement is that the property must be located in a majority-minority census tract in Shelby County or Tipton County. And obviously in the city of Memphis and Shelby County, there are a lot of those tracts. But again, just another way to provide some access to capital to be able to get into a home. We know that the cost of homes are astronomically high, and $10,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but as Pastor Floyd was speaking, there are some additional programs that you could kind of table those up, and you can end up with more going to that closing table. The other program that we have is a home improvement loan. It is a loan, but it is up to $7,500 to improve your home in any way. It can be for appliances, roof, landscaping. You do not have to provide receipts. The minimum credit score is 580. That $7,500 is at a fixed rate of 1%. Amortized, amen, let me say that again, a fixed rate of 1% amortized over 7 years. That payment comes out to $92 and I believe 53 cents a month. We're willing to go up to the third lien on your property. Debt to income ratio, we're willing to go up to 50% and up to 125% loan to value. And we've had a lot of success in this program, especially with the home improvement, but it's been because of word of mouth and going out. We've held different events, and just thinking about what Pastor Floyd has said, you know, how you try to get people out, and depending on what you're offering, we have found that when we offer the information about this, we haven't gotten as much traction. But when we've been able to kind of table it with some other type of giveaway, we've been able to at least see faces and put that information. I would invite you, quick plug, to visit our booth. We have those brochures at our table, but $7,500 at 1%, you're not going to find that anywhere at this current time, and it is just amazing because, again, if I'm going to add value and increase the wealth for my family, I can make improvements to my home, which now adds value to that, and that's something that remains in my family. So those are the two programs that we currently offer. No prepayment penalty.
You know what she just said? Because I got chills on my body. Listen, a 585 credit score, ain't nobody gonna look at you. So you get to do at least two things. You get to reestablish your credit and build more equity in your home and eliminate blight in your neighborhood all at the same time. And at 1.7% interest rate, you don't want to pay that off. You use their money to pay that. So, man, we got to tell our people about stuff like that. That is amazing. Wow. Question?
Can you address the interest rates that are going up on buying a home? Can somebody address the interest rates? Because a lot of people are afraid to get into buying homes because of the 6-7% interest rate. Is that going to ever go down, or can you address that? Or 8% or whatever it is now?
Well, I can address that from this standpoint. We've been at 7, 8% before. So that's not really anything new. The misnomer was it dropping to 2 and 3%. That was the misnomer, but that was also a setup in so many different ways, because now those people who bought up all of that property after COVID and those kinds of things, we lost equity throughout the entire Memphis Shelby County community because it was so cheap, and people paid $40,000, $50,000 over asking price to get these homes, and some of them now don't even want the property. So that was the misnomer and the abnormal interest rates that probably should have never been. It was good for some people, right? But they also made it available during that particular time that you can go into your 401k, your IRA, and those things without penalty. So people squandered their money buying property now that they no longer want. Yeah, the property is paid off, so they don't get any tax break from doing so. So this 7, 8%, I would still say that 7, 8% is still going to be cheaper than rent. Somebody can correct me on that if you want to, but it's still going to be cheaper than rent. I would still say buy the house. Buy the house before the car and the hair and the nails and the Nikes and everything else, as a matter of fact, because most people finance that stuff anyway. And they're putting this stuff in a worse off position than they were even before COVID. Matter of fact, COVID did such a number to where the government paid people to stay home. That is going to lead to this zero income, this zero equity, this zero wealth in 2027 that Pastor Floyd was talking about. So again, we got to get out of the mindset that interest rates are the driving factor. What's the driving factor is your personal economy. You can't eat steak every day, and I don't mean to tell anybody how to spend their money, but I do want to tell you that there is a psychology behind your health, your economics, and your money that needs to make sense for you. Because we're sick from the food, we're sick from the environment, we're sick from being broke, we're sick from the endorphins, we're sick. And it all stems around our mental, because we worry about money the most. We worry about the money the most, folks. And now we are to a point to where we can no longer allow our economics to be defined by stuff. Our economics must now be defined by the generational wealth and the health of our communities. When you see something, do something. If it's picking up the trash, if it's cutting the yard, if it's putting a new roof on, if it's painting the house, if it's taking care of the leak, if it's putting the new windows in, there's some resources that are able to help you between MLG&W, TVA, United Housing, some of these other folks, Patriot Bank. Combine some of that stuff together. Fannie Mae, combine some of that stuff together. And matter of fact, we need to invest in belt companies. Because these children need some whoopings. These children need some discipline. We are perishing because we are failing a generation to give them exactly what they need. But I'm going to be off that right now. Yes, sir.
I want to take a few things into consideration. Most of us are guilty of buying something on credit cards. Most of us, which is 21% to 28% interest on a decreasing asset.
Non-producing asset.
Non-legacy, non-generational wealth. So that's one way. If you look at 8% on something that has an opportunity for you to leave legacy for your children's children, versus 21 to 28% for some for you to look good today. That's one thing we need to consider. And being around my NARAB brothers and sisters, I got this little nugget because I had the same concern that you have, is that rates are probably going to dip again. And when they do, you can refinance your home, refinance them at the lower interest rates. That way, you have more leverage at buying a house at a pretty good price now, and then you get to take advantage of the lower interest rate. Did I do good, my NARAB representatives?
You did just fine.
Okay, all right.
All right. So again, those of you at home watching, this is the Building Black Wealth Tour Community and Clergy Roundtable. If you need to reach us, you can find us at www.nareb-memphis.com. That's NAREB-Memphis.com. And you can also join our organization. You do not need to be actively engaged in real estate to join us. Any profession whatsoever, you can become an allied member of our organization, and we will gladly welcome you to NAREB, YRD, and the Women's Council, which I'm a part of all three. I'm over 50, so I don't really qualify as a youth, and I'm definitely not a woman the last time I checked. Right. But you can also join these organizations because we need the same similar support. Women investing in real estate, our WIRE events with our Women's Council is a huge thing. And then our Young Realtors Division going into the high school to talk to our youth about real estate professions and their career choices after high school is equally as important. So get with us. We're able to get you that information, and thank you for coming out. We're going to break right now for a little bit of lunch, and then we're going to come back right here in this space with our Fannie Mae partner to talk to you about career paths following the yellow brick road, because that's equally as important for those who are looking for a career change and our youth who may be looking for a career path. So we do thank you for that, but be sure to stop by the table, get you some information, get you some food, and we'll be right back here at 1:30. That's my secretary telling me about what I need to do and keeping me on track with time, and I thank you for that. So thank you all for coming out. We're going to break for lunch, and we'll be right back.